Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Bill O'Reilly absolutely steamrolls Chris Cuomo on his own show when it comes to the issues of tariffs, the markets, and what's really going on with the economy. Let's dive in.
And you say the futures are down. Of course they're going to be down because it's a disruption. Any disruption in the world drives the market down.
Yeah, they don't like uncertainty, but I think it's more than that.
Right.
I think it's more than that, Bill. I don't think it's just taking them all on at once. One, it's not as simple as everybody's ignored this. We consume so much more than all of these other marketplaces. And that's why the tariffs have been in place over time, is because they didn't affect the American markets the same way. I think you can make a good political argument that you're making right now that it's unfair. Yeah, you can make that argument. No. But that's why they've existed.
Hold it. It did affect American markets, but not in the way that people think. So let's go to Bernie Sanders. Let's go to the income inequality crew. Mm-hmm. Well, why do you think there's so much income inequality? Because the high-paying union manufacturing jobs went overseas. And they were replaced by service jobs that don't pay as much, or public service, or whatever. So what Trump clearly said is, I'm going to bring back those manufacturing jobs. People are going to invest in plants in America. That's going to heighten
but that's
the potential to earn money by Americans.
But that's highly speculative. One, most of the jobs that we lost...
Nobody knows whether it will work.
No, but you don't...
You don't know whether it will work.
Right, but you don't do something... No, it's not a plan. It's not. It's not a plan. It's a guess. It's a guess. And here's why it's not a plan. It's a guess.
Not a guess. It's a plan.
Here's why I think it's a guess what you call a plan. Because you don't know that these tariffs will make people come back for two reasons. One, time, okay? It takes a long time to repatriate. Two, even if they have to absorb the tariff, the cost structure is still way in their favor, especially when you don't make them pay any taxes. Three, the number one reason that we lost jobs here wasn't just because of cheap labor, it was innovation. And innovation has only increased in manufacturing, meaning that there wouldn't be as many jobs
Innovation
anyway.
Of making T-shirts?
Innovation of making T-shirts, of making... It's fact. It's not bull. It's the opposite.
No matter what it is, if it's mittens or earmuffs or whatever, you can make it cheaper in South Asia.
True.
All right?
True.
But the debate, here's the debate. Apple already said it's going to move a humongous amount of manufacturing from China to the USA. The Emirates already said it's going to move $1 trillion into the USA. Now, you can believe it, you can ignore it, you can do whatever you want, but this buoys the Trump administration. Lutnick runs in and says, look at this. They're going to come back. So it isn't a guess, it is a plan. Now, sometimes plans don't work in history. But this is a bold economic move designed to give working Americans more options to raise their assets. That's what this is. And these people who oppose it have no plan B. They're fine to let these tariffs ride. Okay? Obama didn't know even what a tariff, not Obama. Biden didn't even know what a tariff was.
Well, scratch that. As it turns out, Joe Biden actually does know what a tariff was. And maybe he still does to this day, because he kept them. Ha! Joe Biden kept the Trump tariffs. He quite literally took a look at the plan, and after they had gone through their first iteration by the middle of 2024, his administration kept the tariffs and then expanded them. This should be a bipartisan issue. This isn't just a Republican talking point. It's not just a Trump talking point. No, what happens nearly every single time a Republican idea is a really good one, like, for instance, having tax cuts. It's worked time and time again throughout American history. Well, guess what? The economy improves, and those tariffs had a bit of a tit-for-tat action, but the Biden administration needed to keep it because they were realizing that the polling was crushing them. They were getting blasted in the polls. So they had a couple of ideas to fix the problem. Number one is that they started sending more agents to the border and started fudging the numbers to make it look like, oh, we really are taking care of the illegal immigration problem. We saw right through that here on Politburo and throughout conservative news everywhere. And the average American didn't buy it either. And part two of that plan was to increase some tariffs on China and keep some of the others intact. For instance, this is what the Biden administration did. The tariff rate will go up to 100% on electric vehicles, to 50% on solar cells, and to 25% on electric vehicle batteries, critical minerals, steel, aluminum, face masks, and ship-to-shore cranes beginning September 27th, according to the U.S. Trade Representative's Office. Tariff hikes on other products, including semiconductor chips, are set to take effect over the next 2 years. In other words, this was an attempt to keep American manufacturing protected, to stop the bleeding, and maybe even drive some new job growth. It didn't fully work at the time because it wasn't enough to work. And so after the first bout of tariffs, there was a first bout in 2019 where it was almost a perfect tit for tat. Trump was working with China in order to renegotiate a new trade deal. He had just successfully renegotiated with Canada, England, a couple of other European nations. I think Japan got in on the action as well, and so did Mexico. Okay, we had all of these new trade deals, and he was trying a new one with the Chinese, and it got derailed by an unspecified disease of unknown origin. And so that derailed one plan, so tariffs became the default for a little while. Well, now we've seen what happens. It hurt the farmers a little bit, but it hurt the Chinese just as much. Pretty much nothing was gained, nothing was lost, and so the Biden administration took a page out of Trump's playbook and tried to fudge their own numbers using tariffs in order to bring in more revenue and keep the jobs. Because what happens, and I've already said this, but nearly every single time the Republican proposes a plan, the next Democrat president ends up keeping it. All right, that has been unofficial tradition ever since Jimmy Carter and to some degree, Bill Clinton, although what Bill Clinton did was way, way worse. And then there was the Obama malaise that was a fake good economy. And then the economy got more fake under Biden. But some of the things that they kept ended up working. That's why I'm okay with these tariffs. That's why I'm okay with the stock market crash, which it wasn't a crash. I haven't heard anything about it today, so my guess is there's been a rebound. Because what happens in a disruption is the most panicky of buyers, the people with the most to lose, usually end up cashing out as fast as they can. And what happens next is someone afterwards swoops in, buys the dip, and lo and behold, you're right back where you were. So the people who have capital to spend are buying up more capital. The people that want to cash out, and it's ultimately a small redesignation of where your money is actually going, because you're now seeing where the wind is blowing, who's selling. You usually sell more valuable stock, or sometimes you're most volatile and hope that someone buys it for you. But let's be honest, if that worked, no one would do it. And so you're selling off your better stocks, your Apple, your Google stocks, and you try to cash out as much as you can. And again, smart people come in and then buy it afterwards. So ironically enough, it's sort of a net benefit, because once people cash out, that means they're going to have to pay certain capital gains taxes. That means that people buying are future taxpayer dollars. That means that the people now have extra cash in their pocket, and then there's cash that's going to be used at a later date and time. This is a win-win-win situation, even though there was a dip in the market. So folks, this isn't I don't see a Great Depression on the horizon. That gets brought up time and time again, and I don't see it. And the reason I don't see it is because at the time, Europe had just run out of money to send over to the United States, because we took on a lot of their debt after World War I. And once we started collecting on them, Europe realized, oh, we can't actually pay this. We've got to do something. So they blamed Germany. The German economy collapsed, and it had this slow domino effect. And then finally, we weren't getting enough money from Europe, and so in our haste, we reacted, and instead of being proactive. So we wrote the Smoot-Hawley tariff, and it blew up in our faces. This isn't a reaction, however. This is proactive action with a plan. And so the worst thing that happens from this is a couple of months down the line, no one has played chicken. It's hurt. Everyone's being hit a little bit harder on the pocketbook. The American people get tired of it, and we say, Donald Trump, you've got to end the nonsense. And thus he does. That's the worst scenario. And nothing's really lost. But if this succeeds, there is more capital flowing into the United States. That means more tax revenue to deal with our debt. That means more money, which there's already money promised to come into the United States from Japan, United Arab Emirates as well, to invest in American manufacturing. This is going to be the best attempt to bring back a middle class, a robust middle class, hopefully in the Rust Belt. That's where I hope it ends up happening. But I can easily see it happening down here in the Sun Belt, from Georgia all the way over to Texas, which is where a lot of the money really is now. Funny, Republican states end up making a whole lot of good money right now. It's almost as if there's a whole plan to this sort of thing. Anyways, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Until then, y'all have a good one.